Welcome back to the class, students. So today's topic is about pluralistic theory of sovereignty. So last topic we have discussed about monistic theory of sovereignty. John Austin have proposed that theory, monistic theory of sovereignty. So now we will discuss about pluralistic theory of sovereignty. I'll go forward here. So this theory, this pluralistic theory of sovereignty was first proposed by Von Geerk. Von Geerk was the person. Just like how in monistic theory, when we have discussed, John Austin have proposed the monistic theory of sovereignty. So like that only pluralistic theory of sovereignty was proposed by John Austin, have proposed the pluralistic theory of sovereignty. So now here we will discuss about pluralism. Pluralism is also called as pluralistic theory, okay, which is mainly popularized because an attack of monism. So this theory have attacking the monistic theory of sovereignty. So this is not accepting the monistic theory of sovereignty. In monistic theory of sovereignty, power should be vested under the control of only state. So more preference has given by John Austin. But in pluralistic theory of sovereignty, in this theory, what is demanding that the power should be vested under the control of many peoples. That is called pluralism. Mono in the sense single. Okay, when we are taking the word mono comes from single. Plural, singular word, plural in the sense many. So power should be transferred under the control of many persons. Then only the administrations will run effectively. So this was stated by the pluralistic theory of sovereignty. Now normally when we are seeing about the elements, okay, what are the elements of pluralistic theory of sovereignty? Okay, which mainly the definition was derived. First one, democracy. Children, in every democratic country, if you see that most of the democratic countries were the supporter of decentralization of power. In every democratic country, if you see, decentralization of power is there, decentralized. So whenever the power is distributed among many institutions and organizations and different level of government, decentralization of power. In India also we have decentralization of power. How can you say? Because central government, state government, where the powers are distributed equally. At central government, what is the role of Prime Minister? Exercise the power. Similarly, at state government, Chief Minister will exercise the power. At district level, district collectors. At mandal level, mandal development officer. Village level, village development officer. Gram Panchayat, Sarpanch. So all these peoples where the powers are distributed. So that is called decentralization of power. So the decentralization of power mainly derives from democracy. And that's why this is the first element of pluralism. In pluralistic theory of sovereignty, they have taken a concept of democracy. Just in democratic country, they have best example for pluralistic theory of sovereignty. Next one, federal spirit. Federal spirit in the sense I already said you, federal character, where the states where the powers were distributed equally between the central and state, that state is called as federal spirit. Example, America, if you see. America is the best example of federalism. America is a democratic country and federal spirit. India also, just now I discussed you, federal script. And one more point in pluralistic theory of sovereignty, the third important element is they have given individual freedom. Freedom should be given to the individual. So whenever the individuals are exercising any power, first they should be given more independence and they should be more free. Independence and freedom should be given. So when the citizens are free, then they will be relaxed, okay, and they can able to exercise their rights easily, they can able to discharge their duty. Freedom is very important thing. The society which was quite freely, in that society the people live happily. So if you wanted the people should develop internally and externally, so first what we have to give is freedom. Individual freedom is very important. So third element of pluralistic theory of sovereignty is individual freedom. Freedom should be given to the people, okay. And fourth point, separation of power. Here if you see the powers, fourth element of pluralistic theory of sovereignty is power should be separated. So power should be separated from central level, power should be separated at state level equally. Equally the separation of power should be done. Same concept we have studied democracy, federal spirit and then separation of power. Then decentralized, same thing, distribution of power. So whenever the powers are distributed among all the level, decentralization of power. So when we have talked about democracy, in democracy all are equal, even the people are also equal when compared to government. In democracy, almost all the power were exercised and vested in the hand of people. So, in pluralistic theory of sovereignty, they have taken the democratic element. Why? Because here we can find in democracy, power were distributed among all the people equally. Power were distributed among all the levels of government equally. But in monastic theory of sovereignty, what we have seen, in that only the state government can exercise more power. Only the states have more authority. So, this is one part. So, all these elements are nothing but these are the elements of pluralism. In these elements, what is the common point we can find? In these elements, when you are making conclusion, the common thing in all the elements we find that in all this level, powers were distributed equally, either separation of power, either decentralization of power, either individual freedom, either federal character. What is federal character? That is only distribution of power between central and state. And then at last democracy. Okay, this is one point. So, here when we are taking about monastic theory of sovereignty, they have given more importance to the centralization. Okay, centralization, but here they are giving in pluralistic theory of sovereignty, they have given importance and the element decentralization of power. Now, von Geerk was the first person who have written the concept about pluralism. So, von Geerk, he was the first person who have written the concept of pluralism. He given more importance to the pluralistic theory of sovereignty. According to him, he given more importance about pluralistic theory of sovereignty. Okay. Next, we will go forward. There are several writers were there. These several writers have given importance to the pluralistic theory of sovereignty. So, they have popularized this theory. So, the pluralistic theory was started by first Geerk, but these all writers have popularized the theory. They have developed the theory, they have more elaborated the theory, they have more widened the theory, they have more broadened the theory. So, one is called Maitland, Ernest Barker, H.J. Lasky, Machewer, Miss Follett. So, these are the other important philosophers. What they have given? They have given more importance to the pluralistic theory concept. So, these people they have popularized the theory, and they wanted that what they have explained in the theory that unlimited sovereignty is very dangerous. Unlimited sovereignty is very dangerous, we can find. Most unlimited power should not be given. If unlimited sovereignty we have given, he can exercise in a dictatorial manner, he can act like a dictator manner, then this can lead a great danger. What is the reason? How can you say? So, we already know that children, when we are talking about World War, see First World War and Second World War. In this First World War and Second World War, what is the common thing we can find? In this common thing, First and Second World War, this was started mainly because of whatever the countries where power vested in the hand of single person, they have started the war. That is mainly because of monastic theory. That is mainly because of centralization of power or concentration in the hand of one person. So, in this First World War, we know Germany, England, okay, Russia, all these countries were participated in the First World War and Second World War. What is the common thing? In First World War and Second World War, all common thing is in these all countries there was a rule of monarchy. Okay, what is the common thing in all the First World War and Second World War who have started? Monarchy. In Second World War also, if you see Germany, Italy and Japan, they were mainly responsible for the Second World War. But what is the common thing in Germany, Italy and Japan? Dictatorial government. Dictatorial government means all the power vested in the hand of one single person. So, that is why it was written that power should not be under the control of one person, either state, the power should not be under the control of one person. He can able to exercise according to his favor. So, power should be concentrated upon all the people equally. He can act like dictator also. So, unlimited power which are given to any institution or any one person is dangerous. That is not good. Already we have seen the First and Second World War which was started, because in this period whatever the countries which were involved in the First and Second World War, unlimited powers were under the control of them, and that is why they led their country in the world wars. Okay, that is why. Next we will go forward. Sovereignty. Sovereignty is mainly classified. In sovereignty we can find it should not be discretionary. Sovereignty should not be discretionary. What is meant by discretionary? Left to the individual choice. Everything should be left to one person choice. So, that should not be like that. So, whenever whenever any decisions are making, that should be not made by individual alone. Okay, whenever the decisions are made, that should be made in the form of group. So in sovereignty, whenever if you are giving power, when you are giving power to all, so when they wanted to make any plan and policy, they will discuss the plans and policies and then they will formulate it. But sovereignty should not be discretionary, in the sense left to the individual choice, whatever he is thinking, or whatever the one single person, if he wanted to make any plan and one single person who wanted to pass, that should not be under the control of one, that should not be left under the control of one individual choice. Individual in the sense one single person, we can call it as individual. So that should not be left under the control of one individual choice and not wasted in state alone. Sovereignty should not be wasted, all the power should not be wasted under the control of state alone. So according to the pluralism, according to the pluralistic theory of sovereignty, so they mention that all this, power of sovereignty should not be discretionary and that should not be leave under the control of one particular institution such as state. State should be in federal character. So whenever the states are appointed, decentralization should be, that should be in the federal character. Federal character in the sense the powers should be vested under the control of central and state government equally. The state should be like that. Next one, if you see sovereignty should not be, it should not absolute. Absolute in the sense all the powers must not be fixed. Okay, so sovereignty must not be absolute, almost all the power must not be fixed to one, and sovereignty must not be unlimited. Unlimited power must not be given. Whenever if you are giving power, the unlimited power must not be given, and sovereignty should not be unquestionable. So whenever if you are appointing government or whenever if you are giving any power, so he should be questionable. In democratic country, if you see, whenever the leaders are appointed, people have right to ask any questions. Okay, people have right to ask any questions. If the government is unable to function properly, then it's a right that people will ask that questions to the government. Okay, sovereignty must not be unquestionable. That is also one point. So that's why here one point. So whenever the sovereignty should be there, that should not be absolute, that should not be unlimited, and that should not be unquestionable. And sovereignty should have certain internal and external limits. They should not cross all the limits. So whenever if you are exercising your power, so you should be in such a way that they should have certain limits. If there is no limit, then it will be very dangerous. So that's why it was mentioned that in sovereignty they should have certain limits. One is they should have internal limits and they should have external limits. Internal limits in the sense customs and traditions. Whenever the state is exercising the sovereignty, they should maintain some limits in customs and traditions, because these are the internal limits of the country. These customs and traditions, since from the ancient time we are following, we are propagating. So in that at least they should have certain limits in the customs and traditions. So that is one point. Okay, next one will go forward. So this is about certain limits, and external limits when we are talking about international issue. Once government cannot able to exercise the sovereignty upon the other delegates, foreign delegates and all. So they should have certain limitations. So sovereignty and the power must have certain limits upon internal and external limits. Internal limits regarding customs and traditions. Okay, in that at least the government should maintain some limits, and external limits means international delegates or international tourists, etc. In this all people some limitations should be there upon sovereignty. Now here the command of sovereignty is not law. Okay, whenever whatever the sovereignty is vested upon the people and state, whatever the state is making command, whatever the command is nothing but question. Okay, whatever the right to do something, right to do. Suppose when they are asking and when they are making a command, means they wanted you to do you to perform some activity. So whenever you are performing any activity, that is not a law. Every command of the state is not a law. Okay, whenever the states are commanding, then that is not law. That is not a law. So next one is according to this, if you see customs, traditions, the law should be according to the customs, the law should be according to the constitutions, and the law should be according to the traditions. Whenever if you are making any law, that should be in favorable, that should be in favor towards customs, that should be in favor towards constitution, provision, and that should be in favor towards traditions. Every command for the state cannot be considered as a law of the state. Okay, so from this what we have made a conclusion that we have made a conclusions upon both the theory. So last class when we have discussed about monistic theory, and now we are discussing about pluralistic theory. What is the difference between that? In monistic theory, power was given to only one single institution, either state or government. In pluralistic theory, power was completely distribution of power were given among all the people. Monistic theory is giving more importance to centralization of power. Pluralistic theory is giving more importance to the decentralization of power. And monistic theories were mainly criticized by many writers have been criticized. Pluralistic theory was criticized by a few writers were criticized the pluralistic theory. Okay, monistic theory was mainly introduced by the first person, John Austin. Okay, pluralistic theory was mainly introduced by the first person, von Georg. He introduced the pluralistic theory. Monistic theories mainly will take the concept from monarchy. Pluralistic theory is taking their main concept from the elements. Their main elements is democracy. Monistic theory is given importance to the unitary form of government. In unitary form of government, power vested in the hand of single person. Pluralistic theory is giving more importance to the federal characters. Federal characters means where the power distributes among all the people equally. That is one point. In monistic theory, there is no limits. But pluralistic theory what saying that government should make certain limits in internal and external boundaries. Government must have certain limits. These limits should be upon the internal limits as well as external limits. So this is a difference between the monistic theory of sovereignty and one is called pluralistic theory of sovereignty. So this difference we have find. Okay, children. Thank you very much. We will meet you in the next class.